Hello scrappy peeps, I am here today with a process video for the cut shop. I'm using the Summer is Coming cut file that got released about a week ago. I was tickled pink about this because if you're a Game of Thrones fan like I am, you've been watching that for 8 years, and today is the show finale. And you know, the admonition has always been winter is coming. So when Ashley put this cut file out, I just made me giggle. I don't know if I've mentioned it here on YouTube, but I am not a fan of summer. It's hot. It's California. We get lots of fires. I'm just usually miserable. So anyway, I knew I wanted to use this cut file in some way. And the way I decided to use it is to make a summer bucket list, because this summer we have a whole bunch of stuff that I am actually looking forward to. So what am I actually doing on screen? I printed my photos, well, 2 photos and 3 screen caps from online. The 2 photos I printed at 3 inches, and I used my silhouette to cut 3-inch circles because I don't have a punch that size. The other ones, I printed at 2 inches and then used a 2-inch punch on the one for Money Heist and a 1.5-inch punch. Those are Fisker punches for the Hamilton and the Stranger Things posters. I've been challenging myself to use stamps more, so I rifled through my extensive stamp collection, and here I'm just picking sentiments that I think will go with each circle, each photo. I'm going to do some repeated stamping around the photo. I thought that would be fun to do. It's something I haven't done in a while, and I usually do it digitally, so this time I'm going to use my actual physical stamps. So just going through these real quick, I'll tell you which ones they are later. And then I pulled some acetates, and I like this one from Pretty Little Studio to line the Summer is Coming cut file because I wanted to use a lot of colors, and I thought maybe I would be doing some mixed media under the title. So at this point, I decided to mark off where everything is so I could know where the mixed media is going to go. I'm going to also brush some color around each circle. The design I had in mind for this layout was more of a graphic design, something that you see a lot in traveler's notebooks where there's a lot of stamping, maybe a little bit of color, and it's just more graphic than I usually do. That's also why I did a 9x12. I wanted the long, skinnier look. Here I have my set of liquid watercolors. They're from Avery Elle. I wanted to use Distress Oxides, but I don't have those in liquid form, and it would have been hard to stamp out enough to water down and get into liquid so I can brush around. On my list is to get the Distress Oxide reinkers so that I can use them in liquid form. I think that would be really fun to play with. As you watch me water these down and brush them on, I'll just let you know the colors. The pinkish one is called Cherry, the yellow is Mimosa. Green, I did a little mixture of lemongrass and celery because the lemongrass was too yellow. The one I'm using right now is called Sapphire, and that one I had to water down a lot because it's a very dark blue. I started with sea glass but ended up using Mint to Be for the one that's going to be minty color. And as I've mentioned before, when I do any mixed media, I just put it directly on my silicone mat that's covering my desk because it just makes it so much easier than having to pull out something to mix things on. The way I decided which color goes where was to make sure that I didn't use the same color under a circle. For instance, I didn't put pink under Stranger Things because that's red. After I finished my circles, I almost put some mixed media under the title. You can see me, and I hesitate because I wasn't sure how the acetate would look on the title. So I thought I'll just wait, and once I've got that lined, I'll decide then. So I glued down my circles, and then I started rifling through some ephemera to try out. I picked Ellie Studio for this layout because the colors are very vibrant. I always think of summer when I see Ellie Studio products. And I knew that they had a lot of circle items. That's what I'm picking out here. Circles that have sentiments that could go with what I want, and some that have little graphics like stars. I thought the stars were pretty appropriate since half the things I'm looking forward to in this summer have to do with watching. So, you know, like star ratings and such. Even with all those colorful little ephemera, Everything looks pretty plain at this point. I pull a piece of paper and see if I want to use it as a border somehow, but I'm yet to decide where everything is, so I don't cut it yet. Instead, I am gonna just finish kind of fiddling with this to see where things might go, and then I start with the stamping. So like I mentioned before, normally I've done repeat stamping around a circle digitally, not really with physical stamps. I was careful to choose sentiments that were fairly short, obviously one line or not doubled or paragraph, because that makes it easier to curve the material. You saw I had a different acrylic block, but then I changed over because I just bought the Ali Edwards one, which is round. And I knew that would make it easier for me to curve things. I don't know, just how your mind, when you're looking at something, it'll interpret things. So with another block, the square one or the amoeba looking one that's from Lawn Fawn would have interfered with how I was looking at it, the curvature. If you haven't tried the Ali Edwards one, it's really thick. It actually has a groove where your fingers can go in, and it worked pretty good. It was a little getting used to the extra thickness, but I really am happy with how it let me stamp around the circle. So while I repeat over and over the same type of stamping, I'll let you know what I used. Around the Stranger Things circle, it says this season. That comes from the Feed Your Craft set Show and Tell, which was designed by Brandy Kincaid. Around the family photo, that was a 4th of July photo. That's why I put that there, because 4th of July is in the summer. I used a Carrie Bradford set called Home, and it says Time Well Spent, which is what I stamped around. For the one with us in the pool that says Make a Splash, that comes from a stamp company called Reverse Confetti. It's a mermaid set. I don't know the name of the set. Around the Hamilton, can't wait for that. Around the Hamilton circle, I stamped Oh Yeah, and that's a set from Technique Tuesday called Random Thoughts. I believe that one was designed by Kelly Perky. And finally, around the Money Heist, another thing we're looking forward to, I stamped We Binge Watch Together. That comes from a Lawn Fawn set called Screen Time. And then after I have my title put down, I'll be stamping again with a set that's from Studio Calico. It's quite old. And I'll be stamping Summer Bucket List. I think the set is called Sun Kissed. Like I said, it's quite old. And if you're wondering what color I'm using, because I did test out a couple, you saw me on a piece of scrap paper, I am using the My Favorite Things steel gray color. And it's nice because it's really dark, yet it's not solid black. Hopefully I didn't make you dizzy with all the turning around of the paper. I sped this up quite a bit, but then I didn't want to speed it up so much that, it just kind of hurts the eyes. Right after I finish here, I am going to stick the ephemera back on. I think each time I stick things on, I try different configurations. It's not until later that I settle on the final thing, because some of these are big. And my strategy here is to sort in the middle have things a bit more interconnected so they feel cohesive. But then some of these are kind of big. And I also want to decorate a little bit on the edges, but not take away from the middle. But right now, after I try this a little bit, I decided, let me get the bottom half done. I went off camera and cut my acetate. Now, it was a little tricky because I wanted the summer, the is, and coming to be cut out of certain parts of my acetate. That way the colors went in the, rainbow effect. The way I did this was several steps. I took the cut file, I ungrouped, and then I selected all the inner portions and moved them out off the canvas. Here's the screen cap so you can see all the inner portions of the letters are off to the side so they won't get cut out. Then I duplicated it twice, so I had 3 versions of it. And in each version, I used the eraser tool and erased the part I didn't want. So with Summer, I erased just under the M, erased everything under it. For Is, I erased anything above the I and the S. And you just kind of eyeball it. And then for Coming, obviously I erased everything above the M there. I cut my acetate into strips and placed it at different parts of my mat Then I moved each part of the cut file to where the colors that I wanted were located on the mat. And that's how I got it gradated the way I wanted. So you can see here I had to snip off from the coming a little bit that was on the top because I just eyeballed where I erased on the cut file. And for each section, I have to end up snipping a little bit where they all join together. I tried to speed up the sections so it wouldn't be too long because I did have to fiddle with it. It's kind of like fussy cutting. So here you see summer, it goes over to is, and I marked with a pencil, like it embossed into the acetate, where I needed to cut out where it was going into the is portion. Then I snipped that, fussy cut it, and I'm able to line up summer with the outline of the file. Same thing for is. It's going to be a little bit of snipping at the top and bottom where it wants to flow into the M. When I was doing it on the screen, I just didn't want to overshoot and cut too much off. So here I'm snipping the extra on the top of I and S. And the reason I did it this way, rather than just fussy cut roughly, it's a very delicate file, and there's a lot of little bits in between each letter that I would not be able to snip. I let the silhouette cut those little slivers. And then I found I had snipped into the eye a little, so I cut another little piece from the acetate and stuck it on top. You can't tell the difference. Whew, that is finally done. Time to place everything. At first I was gonna center summer is coming, but I noticed there was a lot of white space on either side. I didn't really want to bring ephemera around the title. And once I put the acetate, I didn't want to put any mixed media under there. And I also decided that I didn't want just a plain white background. This piece of paper that's also from Ellie's Studio continued this circle theme. So what I did was I cut a 1/2 inch off the bottom of the white cardstock, and then I just put a tiny little border on top and bottom. The top is about 3/8 and the bottom is about 1/8. I didn't really measure it. For visual interest, I didn't put it equal. And then I decided, let me move Summer is Coming over. That gives me a good area to continue the ephemera going sort of in a diagonal from top to bottom. I put a couple semicircles at the very border to make it a little bit more cohesive rather than a little strip that's just sticking out there. And as I was putting the ampersands on, I looked over at the puffy stickers and noticed that there was a 1 through 5 little puffy stickers. So I will end up wanting to use those on each circle, and I'm going to type up a little list with each thing that the circle represents and when it's coming out or when it's happening. So what can I say about the ephemera placement? It's really by feel for me. So you can tell that I try to do it around an area that has some open space, and also I'm trying to join some of the circles together, and I vary where the color is. Also, I vary things that have words versus a little icon. And then I went off camera, typed up my journaling. I ended up cutting into strips. Every time I think I will do a block, I never do a block. I prefer strips. I think it's just more visually interesting. And I placed all of the puffy numbers in areas that I thought could use something. Try to make it a little different in each circle so it wasn't as predictable. When I was laying out the journaling strips, I decided the ampersand doesn't really go with the theme. I wanted to stay with circles. Aha, this is where I take out my stamps again. I'm doing a subtitle, repeat stamping without re-inking, summer bucket list. And then I add the 2019 tile stickers. Those are Webster's pages. Those are really cute. I needed to add color to the top left corner to mimic the bottom and just unify that top edge. I added a couple of word banners this time. And in both places at the top and bottom, I did a couple of tiny staples. And the final touch is these little tiny puffy circles. Each of those little circles has a dark and light half, so I made sure that the line was horizontal in keeping with the summer is coming, how that's all horizontal. And again, how do I tell you how I decided where each thing goes? It's just by feel. I moved them around so that the colors weren't all grouped together. Just give it some variety. And there's a few puffy stickers here and there, some stars and some hearts to help with the clustering. I almost showed you the finished page and realized that I forgot to put the inner part of the O on the cut file, so I do that first. So here I am slowing down so you can see everything in real time and all the layers. I always like to see the layers and everything in real time when I see other people's videos. This is a bit more of a graphic style for me, and I had fun doing it, and especially stamping because I have so many stamps. So it's like, let me start using these. And it's fun to do that repeat stamping around and around and around. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you go check out the Cut Shop's latest releases. There's always something fun there. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, I appreciate it if you subscribed. I have links to everything I can think of down in the description box. And most importantly, I hope to see you here next time.